Hello, how are you? I hope you're good. Congratulations if you have successfully finished the first ever spring equinox in our Orilium Academy. I hope you had fun. I'm very excited to hear what subject you liked the best, if you found any new favorite books. Today I'm here to talk about the ones that I've read. I am very happy to say that I have succeeded with whole 30 minutes to spare. It was it was a close one, but I have finished reading all of my required readings and one extra. Not at the end. At the end, my close call was the one that I still really needed for my preferred career, which is the Rift Architect. So I was just living on the edge. I was living on the edge. But I'm here to talk about the 6 books that I did read, and probably more excitedly for you guys, at the end I will talk about our total accomplishments. And I will name a couple of honor students that have shown something exquisite and have earned points for the guilds in the Guild War section. I have the figures and I have the winner. And I also have the prize that I will reveal at the end of the video. So this is kind of like a two-parter. I hope that both will be somewhat fun, but I will section the video. If you want to skip that, you obviously can. But first of all, I want to quickly thank today's sponsor, and that is, once again, our beloved Book of the Month. So Book of the Month is a US-based book subscription box. They vet a lot of books, especially new releases. They curate a very exciting selection from 5 to 7 titles, from which you pick one to be delivered right to your door. They offer a very handy skip policy if you ever want to take a break or skip a month, as well as an add-on feature if you would like to order more books and not pay double shipping. If you'd like to see some examples of the book selections that you could expect, the following were books for May. A historical fiction horror book called The Hacienda, an adult contemporary romance called Part of Your World, a mystery thriller called Breathless, a contemporary queer romance called Yerba Buena, historical fiction called Take My Hand, and a Peter Pan retelling called Darling Girl. And I also got one add-on book, which is the adult title from Holly Black, Book of Night. Bit of a hard choice for me this time because there's a couple of titles that really pique my interest. This one is pitched as Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca, which sounds fun. This one because queer romance. Do I need to say more? But I think I would actually go with Darling Girl. The cover, the vibes, someone waking up from a coma, carrying secrets, it just really appeals to me, so I think this would be my choice. If you would like to give Book of the Month a go, you can use my code bookroast to get your first book for $9.99. I think it's a very good deal for a hardcover, especially a new one. The link is going to be down in the description bar. Make sure you use that if you fancy. And thank you so much to Book of the Month for yet again working with me. I always really enjoy it. Okay, the wrap up. Let me go through these books, I think in the order that I've read them. Let's do that. I think the very first one, the very first one I finished was Lore Olympus Volume 1. Completed my astronomy course as a top of the TBR list read because this was my Patreon Book of the Month, and it was actually really fun. I believe it came out as a 4-star. There's always a little bit of ickiness when it comes to most of the mythology reads because they are icky in nature. There's the age gap, there's the consent issues, but obviously not in this. Although the theme of sexual assault is prevalent and it is handled in a way that it should be handled. The age gap is kind of addressed, but not quite. It's pointed out more so than it's addressed. But I really enjoyed the interesting art. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I got really hooked. And then one of the days that I was having one of my many migraines, I couldn't do anything else, but I was okay enough to look at a screen, and I literally sat the whole day and just read the whole comic, like literally all of it. All of it that was available. I think it's like nearly 200 chapters online. Clearly the intrigue was skyrocketing, but this is a little bit of a modern take on Hades and Persephone, but they still live the immortal realm, and Persephone is quite new there because she is just turned the age where she stops aging. I think it's 19. First time away from her mother, who is very much of a helicopter mom. So she is trying to discover herself, and obviously there's some people who are not so kind to the newcomers, especially ones that are you know, feel threatened by her. My next read was my intimidating read for Inscription, the Glyph of Strength, and strength I gained. This was The Way of Kings Part 2, and I have finally finished the first book in the Stormlight Archive. It's only been like maybe a year since the first part. I'm not actually sure. I don't want to be sure. I'm okay not knowing. But oh my god, that payoff was amazing. I realized that this is a massive setup to what's going to be a 10-book series. This is a vast world that does need a long introduction. Did I enjoy it? Is it an enjoyable thing? The long build-up? To some, maybe. To me, it's not my go-to, but I understand the reasons why. Being with the characters for so many pages and so many chapters, you really get to know them. So when the time for the culmination comes, I think it is extra rewarding. Sanderson writes the endings really, really well, and I really enjoyed the last maybe 100, maybe a bit fewer pages, where not 5 stars, they were like 6, 7 stars. They were like above 5 stars. But there were parts of the book that were, you know, anywhere from like 2 to 4 stars. So overall, I think it came out as a 4, which is still very high because, again, it really hooked me and I really am excited to continue with the series, but boy, was it quite painful in parts. I felt like there was so much repetition. The fight scenes, it's not the fight scenes, because one of the main things at the end is a massive fight scene, and it is amazing. So it only proves that I don't have an issue with fight scenes. I have an issue when fight scenes are written without an underlying cause and is just action. The way that the magic system works here, or the way that Brandon Sanderson describes magic in use, I've never been a massive fan of. That was one of my main criticisms in Mistborn, which I dearly love, but not that part. And it was, I feel like, even more prevalent, though not as often, not as common here yet, still, I don't know. And I found prose sometimes to be almost pragmatic, which sometimes worked and sometimes it really dampened my intrigue, I think. Sometimes I wanted a little bit more finesse, but overall I still really enjoyed it, but it was definitely a trip and not always the most fun type. But I feel like now I have done the legwork, I have put in the hours, so that hopefully in the next book I can enjoy it in a different way, you know? Following my 2 4-star reads, a third 4-star read. And honestly, I'll take that. That's very nice. It was Atlas 6. I had very high hopes, and I was not really disappointed. I was ambiguous in my feelings towards the actual ending and the decisions made there. However, it was actually very intriguing throughout, apart from the end. Normally there's a lull in the middle, you know, like the 50% lull that normally most books go through. That was actually intriguingly at the point where things usually pick up. And so that felt really bizarre and a new experience for me. But Atlas 6 is set in a world where a lot of people have powers to a certain extent. And the secret society that is guardians? I don't know if that's a correct word. Yeah, Royal Library of Alexandria. They have access to it. It is not dead. It's not lost. It is just secret. And 6 people are selected to become members of the society, but only 5 spots are available and 1 will have to be eliminated by the end. I've also gone to the Olivia Blake event, even though we got lost and I was late from work and then we got lost, and so me and Cody actually got there quite late, but it's fine. And the author did say that she wanted to write the characters that could all basically have romance with one another, but also simultaneously anyone could kill anyone and you would be like, yeah, that makes sense. And that really, I think that is captured here. There's a lot of angst, but there's a lot of passion, and I really like that about it. The ending, I'm still not sure how I feel about it. Like, I get it, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. I did really enjoy that there's a lot of science in here. There's a lot of powers are based on like physics or laws of nature. I wouldn't say that it was the most clear system at all. A lot of the tick boxes were ticked for me. You know, like interesting kind of sci-fi magic, tick. Interesting complex characters, tick. Very flawed characters, tick. Time stuff, tick. It came out as a 4-star. The ending was, I don't know how I feel about that direction. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like we were building up with a certain premise throughout the whole book, and then at the end that kind of got lost behind, which really reminds me of how the Raven cycle ended, and I felt like the same way. Like, it was still nice, but I was a bit like, I felt a bit cheated for what I gone through and was expecting to get at the end, I guess. But 4 stars, very excited for the second book. I had a good time. So this was for Art of Illusions, and that is the one that I did not need for the Rift Architect. So this was my additional read because it absolutely did not fit any other prompt that I needed, which was unfortunate. We finally get a 5-star read with Summer Frost by Blake Crouch. And I just thrived with this short story. I just felt at home. This had all the elements of the Black Mirror-esque with AI themes that I know and love. It's my happy place. This is basically about a game developer who was working with this game, and one of the NPCs somehow became an AI, and then from there they tried to enrich the AI, and obviously things happened. It was so fun. It was just really fun, and it came out as 5 stars. It's just, again, I just thrive in that environment, and I was just like placed in a story that I knew I'm gonna love, and I did. It's that niche techno thriller genre that I kind of fly through, I get lost in, I really enjoy. A lot of the themes normally question how humans behave, and the closest like non-techno thriller that I can think of is The Humans. Yeah, Matt Haig. Because again, it's like it's like a certain entity that is not human observing humans and commenting on things, and I like that. I don't know what it is about it, but it appeals to me way more than other humans observing other humans. And then we kind of go a little bit downhill from here. We have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Again, I was very excited because this is a time travel book. There is this cafe, and in it there is a possibility to sit in a particular spot, drink your coffee, and before the coffee gets cold, you get an opportunity to travel in time, but you cannot change the past or the future. Because of that, it actually, even though it is literally so bizarre and, you know, amazing, it isn't as much as a sensation because you can't really profit from it. We follow a couple of stories, and it just felt a little bit short for me on the execution. I felt like we had very limited like page time because obviously this is a shorter book, and I felt like we kind of gave way to repetition a bit more often than we should have because the page amount is limited and we are kind of wasting it on repeating things, and also I thought that the setups for each story were a bit longer than they should have been, and rather than focusing on the deep topics later on, that part was quite swift and we would have chatter and setup as the long part. Could just be entirely me, but that was my experience. Still enjoyed it. It was 3 stars. Passed my conjuration for the source of light on the cover. Wait, I do speak more in depth about this in my last vlog. If you missed it, give it a watch. And then the last book for Psionic and Divination was Record of the Spaceborne Few, and this really took me emotionally through a journey of who am I as a reader. Turns out I'm still the reader I thought I was. I just panicked because I really didn't like the beginning of this book. I really struggled connecting to the story. Not to be confused with relating to the story. I do not need to relate to characters or the story. The further away from my experience, normally the better. But I do need to find the hooks to connect. It felt so scattered. It felt so scattered, pointless at the beginning. The beginning is probably like half of the book, and it explains why it did get the 3.5 stars, like a very high 3 stars actually. It was almost 4. I really enjoyed the ending. Again, I was already invested in the characters and wanted to know what happens to them. Not to the extent that I was in the previous books, but I still really enjoyed going through these stories and seeing the mundane things that are probably deemed not important in a lot of other books, because this is a slow book. This is a record of a Spaceborne Few, and we're following some of the characters and their lives and their goals and existing in the environments that they do. It is an interesting read, but I do think that the first half was just such a hard thing to get through. But definitely my least favorite from the Wayfarers. However, not as bad as I was dreading for it to be. I did get into it later on. But that concludes my reads. I think it was a pretty good month, considering that I normally now get to fewer of the books, sadly. I read 6 things, which is good for me. And more importantly, a lot of the books were pretty good. Moving on to the exciting numbers, I hope. So first of all, thank you so much for participating. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for logging the books and sharing this communal pride that we have going on. I like saving these figures so the next time we can try and top ourselves. That's the best kind of competition. Hurts no one and improves us. I know there's gonna be some that have not logged, and that's fine. We're just gonna talk about the books that were logged. Our grand total of pages read is 6,375,575 pages. Woo! That is amazing. That's amazing. And that is over 21,231 books. Well done. That is really impressive. And because I'm just nosy, I wanted to see if there were a couple of books that were read more often. A lot of the books obviously didn't overlap or overlap just a couple of times, but there were a few that repeated more than others. So I would like to call this category an accidental readathon book, and that is Galatea by Madeline Miller. I've never heard of it, which is really funny, but it was logged 111 times. So 111 people have read Galatea, which I think is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, please don't make fun of me. But I think it is a short story, if I'm not mistaken. So it makes sense. But I just thought it was interesting. The second most read book was Gallant by V.E. Schwab. Makes sense. And that is really not far behind, but with 108 people logging this. And it makes sense because it's a fairly new release. And then we also have Lore Olympus that was also read 80 times. 2 kind of mythology reads, which makes sense again because we have lore for the mythology prompt. And the last thing that I want to say is that from all of these, 4,551 of them were actually quests. So 4,551 quests were completed, which is mind-boggling to me. I'm really, really happy that you guys are enjoying the quest so much. I was originally planning doing the unlimited ones just from the next semester, but clearly that didn't pan out and everyone wanted them now, which is fine. So we've done a lot of questing. There were a lot of quests, but they were all made so you can finish them alongside of your other reads if you have time. I actually wanted to do some, but didn't pan out. This seems like a good placement for the prize reveal, which is a winner exclusive, I guess a guild quest that you can fulfill at any time in between the semesters, so from now till August. So the winning guild will be given this quest with 20 points, which is more than your usual quest to fulfill in the meantime, which I thought would be pretty fun and give you a little advantage in your guild ranking page, which, by the way, remember to give yourself 50 points if you have successfully completed this semester, because you get 50 points for that. So first, let us catch up on the scores that we had from quizzes that we had during the live stream and then later on Twitter. There's probably gonna be more scattered out quizzes in the next semester, and we're also gonna have stuff that's not based on speed. So don't worry about that. Everything gets adjusted as we go, but Order of the Crescent was leading until the Twitter battle, and then the final scores from the quizzes were Archivist and the Order of the Crescent tied for 3rd and 4th place with 110 points. And the 2nd place were the Mindwalkers with 160 points, and the 1st place was House of the Arcane with 300 points from a very interesting winning streak on Twitter. It was literally like half of the quizzes were like evenly split, and then second half, the House of the Arcane just pulled up and were like, you can guys go home. We got this. But there are bigger points to have now. So first of all, we're gonna have points allocated for the most books read. In the 4th place, we have the Mindwalkers, and the guild has collectively read 4,354 books, which grants them 50 points. The 3rd place is the Archivist with very close number, which is 4,475 books, which gives them 100 points. 3rd place is the House of the Arcane with 5,136 books, which gives them 150 points. And then obviously the first place is the Order of the Crescent with 7,266 books. And that awards them 200 points. Yay! And now for the average length of the books, which all are very, very close, but not quite the same. Interestingly, the last place goes to Order of the Crescent with 292.9 pages as an average, 50 points. Next we have the Archivist with 302 pages, which gives them 100 points. The second place is House of the Arcane with 304 pages. And the first place goes to the Mindwalkers with 305 pages, 0.8, as an average book length. So congratulations, the Mindwalkers. You get 200 points for that. And then there are some distinguished students that need mentioning. So our top student of this semester is a mage called Yennefer from the House of the Arcane, who have logged 48 reads. That is incredible. Another 100 points go to your guild. Second most read student is Kindle and Illuminate from the same House of the Arcane, 31 books logged. And the third student is Divya with 30 books logged from the same House of the Arcane. House of the Arcane really came in and not messed around. 100 points for each of these students to their guilds. And then lastly, we also wanted to give 100 points to the mage who have attempted the biggest scroll, the longest scroll. And that mage's name is Irene Larkblossom from the Order of the Crescent, who have read a book, I believe that is a fan fiction collection maybe, the total of 2,603 pages, which is a lot. 100 points go to the Order of the Crescent as well. So when we put all of the points together, and then the first place, of course, goes to the House of the Arcane with a whopping 900 points. Well done, everyone, and well done, the House of the Arcane. If you are of this house, I will pop up the quest here. I will also link it down below. It will be uploaded in the G Drive, as well as all of the previous quests as well, if you want to print them out or save them. I don't know. But this one is House of the Arcane exclusive. If fulfilled, this is a longer quest, so you can go out and quest for months at a time if you wish to, as long as you come back in time for August and our autumn equinox. It'll give you a whopping 20 extra points, and very well done on smashing both the quizzes and also having 3 very overachieving students. But yeah, that is everything, I believe. I'm probably forgetting something, but yeah, I don't know if I will see you before August with anything mini in between. I guess we'll see. There's definitely gonna be some mini quests at some point, but I'm not sure if it's before August or not. If not, I will see you back in Orilium for our autumn equinox. I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your holiday, and I will see you next semester. Bye!